Welcome to I Am African Podcast. My name is Liz. I am your host. And if this is your first time seeing this, go ahead and keep up with us because this is part of the World Cup segment that we are doing. And fortunately for us, we had the opportunity to go and experience the World Cup fan trophy tour, right? It was sponsored by Coca-Cola, and it was a very interesting experience. And I feel like after going through that whole experience, I felt the need to sit here and give feedback to not only the host country, but also the sponsor, Coca-Cola and FIFA. Because it is very important when they host these type of events to make sure that we give them our honest opinion and also just address some things that worked and something that just didn't work. And as a fan, let me say this. This is an African podcast. And for the first time ever, Africa has 10 countries that qualified. This was very historical. Not just that, we had a country that qualified late, which was Democratic Republic of Congo, which is my home country. And they qualified in March. And this trophy tour is happening in May as we speak. And I'm giving you that timeline because I will come back and reference that timeline. But I do want to talk about some things that my team and I experienced when we were going there. And we were Congolese. We were standing there. The atmosphere was very interesting. It was nice to see so many football fans, especially in the United States, right? It's not a big sport here. And some of us grew up playing in high school, but it was not very common in college. And we just get to watch the European football or soccer for the US people. And it was very interesting. It was exciting to see that this was a sport now is big. The World Cup is here. We get to be a part of this. Not just that, be a part of the trophy tour, being able to see the World Cup trophy. This is 18 karat gold that is being carried around the world. So we get the chance to see it because a lot of our countries don't get near and that trophy, right? Like they don't qualify and they go and play in the finals. And Morocco is the only African country that has made it as far as going to semifinal. So this was a very unique experience for us. One of the things that I would like to highlight was the fact that like, though the atmosphere was really nice, it was so good to see a lot of fans there from different countries. I feel like the planning of this event was I could say I could see some positive things, but there was a lot of negative to it for me. I had conversation with a lot of Africans, a lot of Congolese people, Senegalese people, people from Burkina Faso. A lot of us didn't know about this event, and a lot of us are ticket holders. Like we are going to the World Cup, and we were thinking that maybe if something like this would happen, FIFA would advertise this. They would send ticket holders an email or something, right? Like Coca-Cola would have done better marketing of the event to make sure that all the fans are like reached. But surprisingly, being in Houston, Texas, this is happening in our city. They were in Austin, Texas, they were in Dallas, Texas, they were in Houston, and all the major cities that are hosting any events related to the World Cup, they were there. But a lot of Africans in these cities didn't know that the World Cup tour was coming. So now it leaves me asking questions. Maybe they could have worked with the different federations to make sure that their fans know about this event. But it was a little bit disappointing because we're in this environment that is so nice. The music is pumping, all these things. And there were only like three of us that looked like me. And everybody else, there was a lot of Hispanic representation. How they became aware of the event, I have no idea. But I found out about the event through following the news sources and also the planning committee in Houston. They have an Instagram page. And I follow the Instagram page to stay updated with World Cup events. And that's how I found out about the trophy tour. And I found out it was too late. Apparently, they had tickets that you had to RSVP. None of us knew anything like that. So we're staying in line for 3 hours to get the chance. And that was the standby line. If the people with the tickets don't get in or there's not enough people, then we get the chance to go in. But we are ticket holders. We spent the money to go to the World Cup and witness history for a lot of our countries. But we didn't get the opportunity to be at the trophy tour. And when we did, we were in the standby line because none of that information was communicated to us. So With the marketing, my question for Coca-Cola and FIFA is this. When you were marketing this, who was your target audience? And is there a way for you next time when you do something like this, maybe communicate the same way you advertise things through email? I feel like that would be the best channel to advertise something like this. Not just that, let me get back to the lines. You standing in the line for hours. Some of us woke up and got there at 7:30 in the morning and there was already a line. But there were people that were getting there at 9, 10, 11, and they were there until maybe in the evening time. So there were a lot of like that organization, that planning was a little bit poor, but not just that. When you're standing in this line, once you're in that line, you cannot leave. I saw people with children struggling in those lines. They could not leave because they were afraid that if they leave to go and hydrate in this heat in Houston, Texas, if they left and go and take their kid to go drink some water, they will come back and they will lose their spot in the line. I think they could have given water. We did get Coca-Colas, but you were already like 2 feet away from the trophy. That's when they hand you a Coca-Cola. But there are people that cannot really drink Coca-Cola because of health reasons. So what was their options for those people? Maybe these are things that Coca-Cola can consider in the future. If you're planning an event like this, you need to be able to accommodate people. Having water outside, you are Coca-Cola. You can afford to get some water for people to drink, especially if a lot of people are spending money to go to an event like the FIFA World Cup. But aside from that, let me go and talk about just the organization in terms of like inclusion, and aside from like the marketing part, right? I felt like there was not a lot of representation for people of African descent. Our continent, for the first time ever, let me take it this way. Let me make this clear for you. This is the first time the World Cup has 48 countries playing in the World Cup. And it's going to be played in 3 different countries. And Africa has 10 of the 48 being represented at this World Cup. It is very historical for us. And my country, Democratic Republic of Congo, is playing in this World Cup. I went to this trophy tour expecting to be included just like everybody else. And let's just think about this, right? If they plan this for Houston, they plan to represent the countries that are playing in Houston. Congo was not represented at all. Not only by the planning committee in Houston at this event, but Coca-Cola did not really include Congo in the event, in the World Cup. If you watch my last video, you can see I go in and show you the list of countries. They printed a whole big banner with the statistics and all of these things. And I was so happy to see that banner because it included all the countries that qualified for the World Cup. To my shock, this broke my heart. I felt like one of those kids that when you're in school and you sitting there after school waiting for your parents to pick you up, and you're just watching every single person's parent pick them up, and then your parents are nowhere to be seen. That disappointment, that level of disappointment, I felt that. I was so excited. In my lifetime, I've never seen Congo played in the World Cup. For the first time ever, I get to witness this history. I'm going to this World Cup trophy tour, and I'm so excited to see my country represented. Just for me to zoom in and I see Congo is not on there. This is May 2026. Congo qualified in the World Cup in March 2026. Coca-Cola had a whole month and a change to go and reprint that banner to make sure that all countries are represented. But it was not that. There was no representation. And also, Iraq wasn't even there on the list because the Congo and Iraq qualified late. We didn't feel included at all. We were in lines for 3 hours. There was a DJ there, an MC DJ playing music. Not once did they play a single African song. The MC DJ came out and interacted with people. Not once did he look for people that look like us. Never once did he look for people that were beyond the Hispanic people. There were Mexicans there. There were Portuguese people there. There were people from like all different parts of the world, right? There's a big Hispanic community in Texas, especially in Houston. They were there. And so were us Africans. He will call out all these countries. They will feel so proud. They will scream. But the disappointment of your country not being called when you're standing in the line sweating in the heat in Houston, Texas. And somehow this is supposed to be an inclusive event. a fan event. So are we not fans, Coca-Cola? FIFA, are we not considered fans? Are we not represented because Africa doesn't mean anything? Not only did the DJ MC not call any African countries that are playing in Houston, Texas, one of the biggest games of this World Cup in Houston, Texas is Congo versus Portugal. And Congo was not listed anywhere. We did not see Congo anywhere. It was so disappointed. It was just like I was there to go see the trophy. I wasn't there to be represented. And we have been so excited. But not seeing Congo on the list of countries that qualified was a big disappointment. And this is my advice to FIFA, the host countries, or any sponsors of events. Even if it costs you an extra $5, and I know you are Coca-Cola, you are FIFA, you have the money. You can take the money that I paid for my World Cup ticket to go reprint the damn banner that you hang up to make sure that you include every single country. I want my country to be represented. And if you continue with this, I want my country to be represented wherever you go. Because if I can pay, I was in line for 3 hours and there were people that are not even going to the World Cup, people that are not even ticket holders. And yet I kept hearing their countries being called out loud. I kept hearing their music and they're asking me to dance. They're asking me to do, oh, let's dance, let's dance. What am I dancing to? To other people's like music, to other people being represented. And I'm here waiting and waiting and waiting until I left and I never heard anything about my country. It was very disappointing. But this is feedback to you, FIFA. This is feedback to the host countries. This is feedback to Coca-Cola. I think you are a big brand and you can do better in that aspect. And then let's talk about the trophy experience. The trophy, the lines were long. Not only are you standing in 3-hour line, and then when you get inside, there's a line. They speed up the process. We get there, we see all these countries, representation, the history of the World Cup, the teams that have ever won. That part felt really nice. It felt really nice to see Zidane winning the World Cup at one point, right? Like, you see all these teams that won the World Cup. It was nice to see that. And then when you get into the World Cup trophy experience, it was quick. I would say that for 3 hours, waiting for 3 hours, it was very quick. But it was one of the most historical moments of my life that I will always remember, sitting next to 18-karat gold that people get to hold for their country. It felt nice. It felt nice being one of the few Congolese people that has gotten close to that trophy. It felt good. The pictures, if you haven't watched my last video, you should go watch it. It was nice. It was really nice to get to see that trophy in person because a lot of us don't get the opportunities to do that. We grew up hoping for moments like this. So it was really nice to be able to see the trophy, the offered picture. Everything was quick, but it was a worth experience being there in person, being able to witness that. But also, it was even better knowing that after that experience, there's a chance you're going to be at the World Cup to watch your country make history. It really felt nice. So that was my best moment. My best moment of the whole thing was seeing the World Cup trophy, being able to take video. The lady that took my picture, she was really kind and she was very understanding, made sure that I got what I needed. And it was nice. It was a good feeling. But then we left and then we went back in another line to get some merch. If you can see here, I have the hat that was given to us. And then they had some bags that were also given to us and some pins. So you're either choosing a pin or you're choosing a t-shirt or you're choosing a hat. And for you to be able to get a chance to do that, they make you go through a whole process where you're subscribing and agreeing for marketing purposes from Coca-Cola and FIFA, you subscribing to FIFA on WhatsApp or all these things before they can give you something this basic. I'm sorry, but they could have done a better job with the merch that was given out. If I show you the bag, like you pay like $2 to get it done. So I feel like there could have been better options, especially there should have been something that was set for fans that are actually going, like ticket holders that are going to the World Cup. I think there should have been special merch or that was given to those fans. To be honest with you, sitting in those lines, The only worthy part of all that experience was getting to see that World Cup trophy. But everything else that was given, like I'm keeping this with me because that's the only thing that will ever be able to look at and tell my kids one day that, oh, I went to the World Cup, I saw the World Cup trophy and all those things. But I think they can, FIFA, any sponsor, host countries, you can do better with the merch. I think that experience will be top tier if we can add something to it. So, my final verdict for this experience, it was still, even though I had a lot of negative things to say about it, it was still a good experience. I'll give it a 7 out of 10 because I feel like there's great room for improvement for any sponsor, for FIFA and any host country. I feel like this whole idea of the trophy tour is a really great idea, but I think you need to take some time to execute it properly, especially including all the teams that qualified for the World Cup, because this is a historical moment for a lot of teams. We have teams like Cape Verde that are going there for the first time in the country's history. It's giving hope to a lot of teams, especially for me, like being an African, is giving me hope for my country, for my continent. So if you're going to do something like this, make sure that you actually consider all the fans, you consider all these teams and the hard work, the sweat, the tears, everything that they had to go through to make sure that they are part of this World Cup, they are part of this competition. And for the fans that they are part of this experience, they get to have that feeling of, wow, they see me. Wow, they see us. Because we definitely did not feel seen. So, my question for everybody watching this is, would you wait in the line for 3 hours to see 18 karat gold World Cup trophy? Based on everything that I have shared, would you do that? Would you wait? And what do you think needs to be done if you did attend the World Cup Trophy Tour? What do you think need to be done? And if you agree with what I said, let me know. If you disagree with what I said, please let me know. And if you had different experience, please let me know. If you were somebody whose country was greatly supported, praised, all of those things, and you saw what I am talking about, the lack of African representation. But also, I'm not going to sit here and just blame FIFA. I'm not going to sit here and talk to Coca-Cola about feedback. And I also feel like with Africans and our African community, we have a lot of work to do. We need to be in these places representing our countries and representing ourselves. Yes, we had to wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning to show up and stand in the line and go through all that. It is experience. The reason why a lot of these other countries are taken seriously is because they show up no matter what is required. Sleeping an extra 30 minutes versus representing your country and showing up for your country, for these players, for these teams that worked so hard to make it to the World Cup and represent your country, put your country on the map. I feel like for Africans, we can do better. But also, everyone has a responsibility. And I think we all need to take responsibility for what we need to do and make sure that we address things the right way. We represent countries, we make people feel seen and also represented, because this is not easy for a lot of people and for a lot of countries. But somehow we all here, 2026, US, Mexico, Canada, the World Cup, and that trophy tour needs to be better next time. But this is African Podcast. I'm your host, Liz. Thank you for tuning in. Remember, if you agree or disagree, please comment and let me know, because I would like to see what everybody else's experience was. Thank you so much. See you next time.